Is this the dagger?
Welcome back to David Dalker, NBA Friday episode 2. We got our first 3 days of NBA action. So happy the NBA is back. Probably my favorite league overall. While the Orioles are my favorite team, and I'd probably say I like the Eagles more than the Kings, my NBA team. I think the NBA, the league as a whole, is what I know the most about. I watch a lot of basketball podcasts I follow. I'm very invested in the NBA. I think it's a very fun league, very player driven, which I appreciate. They do such a great job of marketing their players, as opposed to the MLB and the NFL. So I'm very happy the NBA is back. With games every night. It's just very easy to get into it, and I love the NBA. I've been a fan of the Sacramento Kings for 7 years now, which is kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, I love the NBA. I'm happy it's back. So yeah, let's just get into some, brief talk about what's going on in the league. So Tuesday, October 22nd, the first day of NBA action. Celtics beat the Knicks 132-109. I watched a good bit of this game, and I remember tweeting, the Celtics are going back-to-back. Winning a championship and then bringing back the majority of your rotation is insane, and really it's not been seen before. Tatum looks like a top 5 player. Jaylen Brown looks solid. But it's just the fact that they have this strong core and, these, 2 top 30 players with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. One of the best coaches in the league with Joe Mazzulla. You got Jrue Holiday, you got Peyton Pritchard, you got Kristaps Porzingis, you got rotational guys like Luke Cornett and Sam Hauser. I think they hit the most threes. Yeah, they hit 29 3-pointers in the first game of the season. Everybody can shoot. Derek White. Did I say Jrue Holiday already? Whatever. They just have an endless list of just guys that are able to put up 4 to 5 threes a night, play good 1 through 5 defense. This team is constructed brilliantly, and I just really, obviously in my video last week I picked Thunder over Knicks just because I think that's a fun matchup, but in all likelihood it's probably gonna be a Celtics repeat. Unless God forbid, just because I don't want to wish injury on anybody, but unless they suffer some immense injuries, this roster is just built to win, and that's probably what they're going to end up doing. The Knicks looked all right. There's still going to be some chemistry issues there, obviously, with the addition of Mikal Bridges. But I think they actually did win their second game, and Mikal Bridges' jump shot looked like it got back to normal because, there's a lot of the clips of him over the summer working on his jumper. And he said in an interview, he's been trying to get his jumper back to where it was at Nova, and it's just been he's been in the league, 5-6 years of tinkering with it. But he added that disgusting hitch in his shot over the summer, but it looks like he got it back to normal, so that's good for him because he's a pretty solid shooter, one of the better perimeter defenders in the league. He just has those lanky arms. His jumper is gonna look bizarre, but the Knicks looked all right, obviously just with some chemistry issues to work out. Lakers beat the Timberwolves. Did not watch any of this game. I was doing some other shit. But I did watch the Timberwolves play their Game 2 game against the Kings, which I'll talk about later in the video. But yeah, the Lakers look good. LeBron in year 22 got to hit the floor with Bronny for the first time. A lot of clips of JJ Redick's timeout talks to his team compared to Darvin Ham being like, "Hey, salute, you're playing aggressive out there." But Redick, is talking about actual game points. A lot of discourse around him being hired as the Lakers head coach, but it seems like he's in a good position to be a coach. He knows ball. Obviously played as long as he did. He hasn't had any stint as a coach besides youth with his kids, but it looks like he's doing a good job, and he has a good roster around him with guys like AD, LeBron, obviously, and then you got Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves. It's a good mix of veteran and youth presence. But obviously they're gonna have a microscope on them the whole season, just due to the fact that it's LeBron playing with his kid. But yeah, that was night 1. I'll touch briefly on these other games throughout the league. I watched a good bit of the Raptors-Cavaliers game. The Raptors, I want them to be my Eastern Conference team. The Raptors are a fun team. I like players like Scotty Barnes, Grady Dick, Davion Mitchell. Emmanuel quickly, but they got smoked. Donovan Mitchell, looking like a top 15 player, which I think he is. Evan Mobley had a great game in the paint. He's one of the best inside defenders in the league. Just a really good rim protector. But yeah, the Raptors are going to be bad this year, so it's more of a youth movement thing. If they can get 30, 35 wins, it's going to be a successful season, I think, just because of the fact that they've sold a lot of their pieces and they're investing in that youth movement. But the Cavs look like a good basketball team. They scored 30 points in all 4 quarters, and that is due to the fact that the Raptors aren't a very good basketball team. But still, I mean, you got Garland, you got a new coach, and Kenny Atkinson. So yeah, it should be a fun season for Cavaliers fans. I watched a good bit of Pacers Pistons. Pacers did end up winning that game, 115-109. But the Pistons look like a fun young team. Cade had 28 points, 8 assists. You got guys like Jaden Ivey. You got Ron Holland on their team. Jalen Duran. A lot of young guys. Obviously, they had that 28 game losing streak last season. I don't think they're gonna have a losing streak like that this year. They may have bad stretches, but I think this looks to me like a 35 to. Nah, it's too much. It's probably gonna be around 30 to 35. It's gonna be a massive improvement from where they were last season. I think they're gonna have a lot of guys come into their own. You got a new coach and it's Bickerstaff, right? I think it is JB Bickerstaff. Yeah, new coach in JB Bickerstaff who. He's coached around the league. He was just in Cleveland. He coached in Memphis. So I think that's going to be a lot of good factors for this team to be successful. And the Pacers, not a lot of big moves for them. Obviously, they got the Siakam before the trade deadline last season, made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. They're going to be a good team. The East did get a little bit stronger. I think both the East and the West are going to be dogfights this year, but the Pacers look like a solid team. And, I'm excited to see. Obviously, I love Tyrese Halliburton due to his time on the Kings. But, yeah, I think it should be another fun season for Indiana. Hawks beat the Nets 120-116. Trae Young is looking like, a top 3 to 5 point guard, which we know he can be. 30 points, 12 assists. He has a lot of really flashy passes. He has a lot of shooters around him with Dyson Daniels, DeAndre Hunter. Obviously, he has his rim threat. And Clint Capella. Losing to DeJounte Murray, I think is going to just do a lot of good for Trae Young. Just giving him one less primary ball handler. And just allow him to be the floor general that we know he can be. You got young guys like Jalen Johnson, who everybody was really high on he was a rookie last year, I think. Everybody loves Jalen Johnson. I think he has a lot of potential to be a good wing in this league. And, yeah, the Hawks, they weren't very good last season. I think they're going to bounce back and have a pretty solid year this year. Quinn Snyder's one of the best coaches in the NBA. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that Hawks team looks this year. And obviously the Nets, similar to the Raptors, buying in on that youth movement, their veteran presence is like Dennis Schroeder. Who I love Dennis Schroeder, but this team is going to be bad. I watched a bunch of videos just talking about how they should be bad, obviously with the Cooper Flag draft class coming up. Cam Thomas had 36 points and 3 steals. He's probably going to average 28 points at least this year, unless he gets flipped somewhere. But he's the first option on a bad team. He's going to let it fly. I love the way he plays. He plays like he's playing rec ball. And I think the Nets are going to be bad, but it'll be fun to see Cam Thomas put on a show. And they're probably going to end up trading Dorian Finney-Smith and Cam Johnson throughout the year. But, this team should be bad, but Cam Thomas, maybe we'll get an all-star nod just due to the fact that he's having these inflated numbers on a bad team. Magic beat the Heat, 116-97. Paolo Banchero had 33 points and 11 rebounds. I was just reading a tweet, and this has kind of been the narrative around him recently, where he's one of the least talked about number 1 picks in recent memory, and he doesn't get a lot of pressure put on him. You can compare that to Wemby, Zion Williamson, Reese Hachimura on the Hawks. Obviously, that's zero pressure on him. But the number 1 pick is a very touted position. And if you're drafted number 1 overall, you're obviously going to have the expectation held over you that you were the first player picked in this draft, so you're going to have a lot of pressure. But Paolo has not really had much of a microscope on him, probably due to the fact that he's playing in Orlando, a bit of a non-factor in the East. At least before last season, they made the playoffs this year, and I think they're my pick to make the playoffs this year, by a 5 or 6 seed. I picked Jamal Mosley to be coach of the year. But yeah, it's really cool to see Paolo blossom into this really talented player. He's 6'10", 240, built like LeBron. And it's kind of the same thing with Jason Tatum, where it's when these players realize their size, they're a top player in the league just because they're able to utilize that and their excellent ball handling skills to get to the basket and score. The Heat, I don't really know what else to say about the Heat, really. This has been a really weird team over the last few seasons, making 2 finals runs in the last 6 seasons. But yeah, nobody really played very well. Jimmy Butler had 3 points in 26 minutes. Leading scorer was Terry Rozier on 5 for 15 shooting. Like, it was just a really ugly showing for this team. I'm really curious to see how that Heat team turns out, because they kind of just had like the same roster for the last like 3 seasons, and they just kind of like go out there and just be like, yeah. But it's Jimmy's contract year, so I'm really curious to see if he turns it around. Obviously, it's just game 1, but I'll be curious to see how his season goes, because he's either going to get, an extension or an additional contract with Miami. He's going to go somewhere for his twilight years and try to, get push for a ring. Bucks beat the Sixers 124-109. Giannis had 25, 14, and 7. Tyrese Maxey had 25 and 6. I hope the Bucks are better this year. Losing Coach Bud, they still got last season, but now they got Doc Rivers, which is, Doc Rivers is not a good basketball coach in my mind. He's had success. People say that he's riding that Celtics ring until, for every contract he gets, and I can understand that. But this Bucks team it's a really talented roster. Giannis being a top 3 player in the league with Damian Lillard. They got Gary Trent Jr., Pat Connaughton. You got a lot of these guys that have been there for a while. Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez. Like, they have a really solid and consistent core. And I don't know. I mean, they were like a 3 or 4 seed last year, but came in and Giannis were injured, so they ended up losing to the Pacers. But yeah, the Bucks, as long as they have Giannis, they should be a good team. And I remember there was an interview talk about Giannis being like, if we don't win a championship this year or make a deep playoff run, I might get traded. And like, there's no way you're trading Giannis Antetokounmpo, unless like he really regresses this year and he goes in like a James Harden kind of thing where he just decides to sit out. I don't think they're gonna trade him. But yeah, the Sixers. This is a team that I think is just really going to crash and burn this year. Obviously, missing Joel Embiid and Paul George early is going to hurt you. Maxey's my favorite player on the Sixers. He's one of my favorite players in the league. He's just a fun, young guy, very energetic player, and I like the way he plays. And he's just I think he's going to have to shoulder the burden of the fact that Embiid's like, yeah, I'm going to sit out. And I'm not, I understand injury history, and, 82 games is nothing to laugh at. I definitely cannot play 82 NBA games. But I just think it's kind of the openness about being like, yeah, I'm not playing back-to-backs. And I can understand why that's frustrating for Sixers fans. But, I mean, this is a talented roster. You got Nick Nurse, one of the best coaches over the last 10 years. Jared McCain, one of the most fun players coming into this season from that draft class. I'm really curious to see how the Sixers team turns out. Because, yeah, I mean, you're getting no more than 65 games from Embiid this year. PG's injury prone. He's old, disappears in the playoffs. I think the Sixers team is going to underperform a lot of... I imagine there's not a lot of media expectation for them. Like, I didn't really see a lot of people picking them to be like a top 3, 4, 5 team in the conference. But I honestly would not be surprised if they're the 7 seed this year, just due to the fact of missing a lot of those top talents. And Maxey, while he is a great player, he's not a guy that can elevate a roster and turn them into, a 45 to 50 win team. And I think that's going to be the cap for a lot of these Eastern Conference teams. Like similar to the West. Like, obviously we had a lot of top heavy teams last year in the West with the Nuggets, Thunder, Wolves last year, winning like 57, 56, 55 games. But I think this year it's going to regress a lot. It's going to be a lot of 50, 51, 52s. And I think the Sixers are going to be at most a 47 win team. And I'll be happy to eat my words. City of Philadelphia, I have a lot of love for it due to the fact I'm an Eagles fan. But I don't know. I think this season's kind of doomed due to the fact of missing a lot of those players that you need. Hornets beat the Rockets 110-105. Not much to say about this game. LaMelo looked great, 34, 8, and 11. Rockets are a fun young team. Alperen Sengun at 25, 14, and 4. The Hornets should be good this year. Brandon Miller, I think he's going to take a big leap from last season. I think he was, third in Rookie of the Year behind Chet and Wemby. He's a fun player. He didn't really have the best game, 6 points in 11 minutes. But, they got a lot of production from Trey Mann off the bench, looking like Allen Iverson. I think the Hornets should be a fun team. A lot of these, it's cool to see these young rebuilding teams of the last few years, like the Rockets, like the Hornets, like the Pelicans, like the Magic, who were so bad for so long, and now they're getting back, all this youth talent that's finally blossoming. It's fun to see these teams find success, and I think the Hornets should be a solid team this year. Like, I think the East is, it's going to be the Celtics, 50 feet of shit. That's a little dramatic. And then the rest of the league. And I think, the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seeds are up for the taking in the East. And I'll be curious to see how that conference plays out. Because, the Celtics were far and away the 1 seed last season. And I think it's going to be a pretty far drop off. Like, I think it could really be any team between, like, the Bucks, the Pacers, the Sixers, the Cavaliers. Like, those spots are wide open. Pelicans beat the Bulls 123-111. Biggest story of this game, I think, is that DeJounte Murray hand fracture is going to be out like 5 to 6 weeks. I saw the Shams article this morning. So that really sucks, making that trade for him, getting rid of Dyson Daniels, getting rid of, they traded Larry Nance, I think, too, right? For a guy like DeJounte Murray to fit in with that team, with McCollum, with Ingram, with Zion. It just definitely hurts to lose a guy like that for so long. But, B.I. had a great game. 33, 7, and 2, 2 steals, 1 block on efficient shooting. CJ McCollum had a great game too. He's such a great player. He's one of my favorites in the league. Jordan Hawkins had a great game off the bench. Like, I think this Pelicans team is going to be really good. Obviously, they won the play-in tournament last year. They lost in the first round to Oklahoma City, but I think this should be a good team. I don't really know what the deal is with Zion. I haven't really read many articles about him, but he's, similar to Embiid. Like, he's just kind of an injury-prone guy, and you're really lucky to get, 40 games out of him in a season. But I think, regardless of that, I think they have a really great constructed roster, and obviously it hurts to lose DeJounte Murray for as long as you will. But, you have a guy like CJ McCollum, Jose Alvarado, great guy off the bench. I think they have a good young roster. It's built well. I think B.I. is going to have a great season this year, barring injury. And I think this Pelicans team should be fun. The Bulls, they're not really in a free fall. They're just kind of, it's like the Zach LaVine showcase. Really, it's like we're gonna give him a space to play good basketball, so we can flip him for some young pieces and some picks. And King of the Fourth Quarter. I don't know if any of you guys follow him. Big NBA YouTuber, one of my favorites. Probably my absolute favorite YouTuber, just in general. But his content, the content that he makes, like, he says there's really no reason not to just, play these young guys, Patrick Williams, Kobe White, Matas Buzelis, Ayo DeSumo, Lonzo's back. You have this young roster, and it really should just be Zach and a bunch of those young guys, and that's what it ended up being. And you got Vucevic, minus 14, 21 points, 8 for 12, 11 rebounds. Like, he's always going to be a double-double guy, but it really should be the youth movement in Chicago, and eventually, trying to trade Zach LaVine for some young talent. But yeah, that's all I got to say about that game, really. Grizzlies beat the Jazz 126-124. John Morant's back, 22 points, 10 assists. Larry Markkinen had 35 and 9. Larry's probably he's probably going to just rot in Utah, which kind of sucks. He's a very talented player. It's cool to see Ja back. I think the Grizzlies should be a fun team this year with Zach Edey. Getting drafted, but then they got Santi Aldama, Marcus Smart, Desmond Bane. Like, this is a very talented offensive roster, really good defense. Grit and grind has always been the mentality in Memphis. So they should be a fun team after the really disappointing season last year with Desmond Bane. Averaging like 24 points last year. The Jazz are an interesting team, very young team. You got guys like Walker Kessler, Keontae George, Colin Sexton, John Collins, drafting Cody Williams out of Colorado. But yeah, this should be. Didn't they just extend Lowry too? I'm very curious to see how that pans out career-wise for Lowry. But yeah, the Grizzlies should be a fun team this year. Suns beat the Clippers 116-113. Got the debut of the Wall in the Intuit Dome. James Harden had 29, 12, and 8. Bradley Beal had 24 points. Kevin Durant and D-Book look great. I was talking about the Suns in my last NBA Friday video, just talking about how they're just a really curious team. They got swept by Minnesota in the first round last season. They invest so much of their payroll in KD, in Book, in Beal. And I saw a tweet talking about how the assist-to-turnover ratio for Kevin Durant had 7 turnovers, no assists. Bradley Beal had 2 turnovers, 1 assist, and Book had 4 turnovers and 6 assists. But then Tyus Jones, he had 2 turnovers. Or no, he had 8 turnovers and no assists. So he's a guy that was brought in to be that, primary ball handler for all these weapons around him. And the tweet was saying, it's time to finally, give him the ball and let him facilitate for this talented roster. And I really think that should be, that's probably going to be the key for winning for the Suns. They won by 3 points here. KD had a lot of clutch shots down the stretch. But yeah, the Suns should be good. Bringing in Mike Budenholzer, they should be good this year. With all that talent, barring injury, they should be good. The Clippers, another interesting team. Missing Kawhi for so long, losing Paul George, James Harden. Being that primary guy. You just got like a bunch of drifters on this team, really. Zubac has been there a while, but then you got Terrence Mann, Norm Powell, Derrick Jones Jr., Nick Batum, Kai Jones. I like Kai Jones a lot. I'm excited to see how he does this year. Kevin Porter Jr. and just like a bunch of, I don't know. I don't like Kevin Porter Jr., but Chris Dunn. This is just a team of players that have just kind of been drifting around and kind of ended up here. So I think they should be. The West is going to be a dogfight. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up being like a 9 or 10 seed. And then the Warriors won 140 to 104 over the Trailblazers. Blazers going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. Another heavy youth movement team, with Jeremy Grant and Ayton being really the only tenured players on this roster. Rob Williams and Matisse Thybulle as well, but they're not going to play a lot this season. They got, obviously they're out with injury, but we'll see how that starting lineup, the starters were, this guy, Toumani Camara, Jeremy Grant, Danny Avdija, DeAndre Ayton, Anthony Simons. This is a young roster. Scoot Henderson had a good game, though, 22 points off the bench, but he was minus 31. Obviously, they did lose by 36 points, but the Blazers should not be very good this year, but they're on the up and up. I'm curious to see how Ayton plays this year. And then the Warriors, first year without Klay Thompson. Lineup looked like Draymond Green, Kuminga, Trace Jackson Davis, Andrew Wiggins, Steph Curry. Steph Curry, 17 points, 3 for 7 from the 3-point line. Leading scorer was Buddy Hield off the bench, 5 for 7 from 3. People call him the new Splash Cousin. I hate to tell you, but Buddy Hield is not very good at basketball. You guys will see. But yeah, that was the Wednesday scoreboard. Thursday, not a lot of games. Celtics beat the Wizards. Celtics looking like a juggernaut, as I said, beating them by 20 points. The Wizards should be bad this year. Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma, Marvin Bagley, Jonas Valanciunas. I wouldn't be surprised if they're a, 30-win team again. They were really bad last year, but it kind of went under the radar due to the fact that the Pistons were very, very bad. But they had a very similar record. I think the Wizards had them beat by 1 game. It's just the Pistons had that 28-game losing streak. Mavericks beat the Spurs. I watched a good bit of this game. Luka, he's my pick for best player in the league. 28, 10, 8. Klay Thompson looked great. Made a lot of shots. The chemistry is brewing there. So it's cool for them. I think they're going to, be a top 3 team in the conference. The Spurs, Wemby should take a year 2 leap. He's the betting favorite to win most improved player, but he did not look very good today. 17 points, 5 for 18 shooting, 1 for 8 from 3. I saw someone on Twitter saying, Wemby deciding to take the... It was Wemby deciding to take the blank route instead of the Hakeem Olajuwon route is good for the rest of the league. If he really has no business shooting. It's cool every now and again to see a 7'4" guy that's built like him shoot a 3, but he really should be down low, catching lobs from Chris Paul, and just using his size. He can dunk from the free throw line, standing up. He can just lean over and dunk. He's that tall, and he really should be doing that more. But yeah, he should be good. It's just 1 game, but I'd like to see him shoot less threes. There's really no reason for that to be in his bag. As much as it is. Shooting 8 threes, he should not be doing that. And when the Thunder beat the Nuggets 102-87, Chet Holmgren, 25 points, 14 rebounds, 4 blocks. Jokic had a triple-double with 16 points, 12 rebounds, 13 assists. The Thunder are my pick to win the NBA Finals this year. I just think this team is so fun. Shea had 28 points on 11 for 24 shooting. Aaron Wiggins had 15 points off the bench. Jalen Williams had 12 points. This is a fun team, fun young team. I think they're going to be so good this year. And then finally, Timberwolves beat my Kings 117 to 115. This is a very frustrating game to watch. Keegan Murray looked great, though. DeMar DeRozan looked great. There's a lot of turnovers, and obviously it's game one, so the chemistry is still building, but it was a lot of not a lot of appealing ball movement from what I saw. It was a lot of just go to work. Like, we would take the ball up, get it to DeMar, and he was hitting his shots, but there would just be a few times where it would just be fast break, get it to DeMar in the mid-range, and he would, shoot, and he'd either miss or go in, and then we'd really have nobody crashing the boards, and that would just be another opportunity down the drain. I thought Sabonis looked good down low. He was getting shifty in the paint. He had a lot of great layups. De'Aaron looked great, using his speed, which is, his best quality. Like I said, Keegan Murray looked wonderful. Yeah, I think we're going to be fine. It was just very frustrating to lose that game, just kind of due to the fact that Anthony Edwards just has a will to score. And Randall, I mean, really, that was our second game together, and I think he had like 30 points. Like, he was just kind of scoring at will. And it was frustrating. But I digress. Tough loss, but, 81 more games. I think we're going to be a top 5 team in the conference. Just need to figure some chemistry things out. I thought our defense looked great. I think we did as good a job as we can. Limiting a team like the Timberwolves that have a lot of offensive capacity to 117 points is no, it's not. That's not good at all. But whatever. We're 1 week in, or we're like 3 days into the season. But yeah, I mean, I think there hasn't been really a lot of surprises for me. I think a lot of these teams are performing the way the media and myself included expecting them to. So we'll see if anything shakes up, any early season trades pop up. But yeah, that's NBA Friday episode 2. Went on really long, but I love the NBA. I love to talk about it. So yeah, like and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.